Shalom. Call Halal Yahweh Bashin Abishai, Bahashim Rakar Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. To the scattered, hopefully elect, that are scattered among the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, mixed among the heathen. And the Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone in Chicago, coming at you another lesson in truth. And the motivation and inspiration behind this lesson is from a video that the apostles put up when they in travels on their way to camp in transit, and they were showing images of Herod the Idumean, and we're looking at the descendants and family members of Herod. Okay, as a matter of fact, that at the very top left corner, that's Antipater, and then his son, or one of his sons, Herod, because it was many of the Herodian dynasty, but the Herodians were indeed Edomites, Idumea. All right, and you just can't get around the fact that Rome and Greece, which these so-called self-professed or proclaimed white people here today have used as a weapon of white superiority, so-called, for many a generation now. Created a whole doctrine of white superiority based upon the bragging of how all modern civilization began with Alexander. But through the records, we find that Alexander is blood related to the very people on the screen, of the same bloodline, because we can trace the Macedonians, all right, through the Bible back to Esau, Edom, back to Amalek. These are undeniable truths that cannot be overlooked, but they have been. So let's get a couple scriptures. This won't be a long lesson, but it's going to be very precise to the point. All right. And this is Isaiah 34:16. And it reads, "Seek ye out of the book of Yahweh and read. No one of these shall fail, none shall want her mate. For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them." Right? Who is the them? All right? The prophets, the people of the Lord, man. All right? The truth is coming out. The awakening, that great awakening of the valley of the dry bones, when the Israelites will wake up to their nationality. Because remember, according to Jeremiah 17 chapter and others, the Israelites would be, matter of fact, let me just read it. Because the prophet Jeremiah was told this, that not only his people, but him himself. All right? Meaning when he came back. You know, that's going to go over most people's head. But this is Jeremiah 17:4, and it reads, "And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever." So I watched news broadcasts where they say, well, they call us imposters, but it's funny how they didn't mention Edom or Edomites. All right, so let's click on Antipater. Let's see. Well, there he is. And just like Elder Yashawamba said, he does look like he could be one of the bushes. Okay, now let's click on Herod. Those would be what you refer to as white people. Also crushing the fact when you understand the history, because it tells you in the Apocrypha how they got dominion over the land through Alexander. All right, they're not Japhetic. Okay, they took over that land from Japhet. It tells you that. The record of that is in the Maccabees, as well as it is in encyclopedias. All right, and then you have that 400, and that's First Maccabees, the first chapter. All right, where it gives you that history, that breakdown. Then came that 400-year Hellenization of the Israelites and all the other heathen that will live on among them. All right, the account of that could be found here in 2nd Ezra, the 7th chapter and the 28th verse, and it reads, "For my son Yahushua shall be revealed with those that be with him, and they that remain shall rejoice with him within 400 years." So 400 years of Hellenization. And it's pretty much the same thing has happened here in America, even longer. This is why it took so long and so hard for the Israelites to awake. They had 500 years of being told they were heathens, collectively. And there was always a small remnant that knew, but you didn't have mass media like you have it now. All right, every generation had its uprising and its people that knew since slavery. So there was always a small remnant of the tribe of Judah, the so-called Negroes, that knew that they were a part of the 12 tribes. Always. But you can't get around facts and figures, man. Truth, relics. These are proud Edomite relics which now bring shame. Because the Edomites want to be everyone on the planet except Esau Edom. All right? They do. And let's read why before we read some more scriptures. This is out of the book, Who is Esau Edom? All right? This book has now become infamous. I paid about less than 20 bucks for this book about 11, 12 years ago. This book now, brand new, is going to cost you about 10 grand. You can look it up for yourself. If used, it's going to cost you about two grand or more. Right? But this is in the introduction on page 4. And I'm just going to read just a little bit from this book. So on page 4 in the introduction, it says, "This material presents strong meat of God's word, which is intended to edify and nourish strong Christians." And the only Christians are the Israelites. Then it gave Hebrews 5:12 through 14. "It thus specifically intended for those who have advanced to the stage of understanding the racial perspective of the Bible." And if you can't do that, then you don't know the Bible, because the Bible has a very racial perspective to it. It's all about race. As a matter of fact, when the Israelites went into the land of Canaan and were warring with those Hamites, who are the Africans, all right, that were dwelling in the land of Canaan, but leave it up to Esau Edom in his movies. He's always going to show you that his face as the Canaanites. Why was he doing it? Because he's trying to hide his trails. So if he can make the Canaanites so-called white, he can make the Israelites so-called white. And it's funny how I just Googled Antipater and all these images popped up. Even this one right here where it says, when it's talking about Jewish, Revelation 2 and 9, converted, and then it's got Deuteronomy 28, the 20th chapter. So Jewish and a Jew. That just happens to be sitting in there as well. So this truth is out, man, all over Google, man. So, and the information which connects these Romans to Esau Edom. Rome to Edom. All right, but yet they say that we're lying and calling them fakes and phonies. Well, because they are fakes and phonies, they're true. They don't want to accept the fact or acknowledge the fact because they know who they are. They've always known who they are. That's why they've covered their tracks and tried to lie about their biblical identity. But back to this book. It says, in revealing the mysteries of the scriptures surrounding Esau Edom, this book deals with history, prophecy, ethnology, providence, symbology, and eschatology, which is something that Esau doesn't deal with. They deal with propaganda and their weaponized media. They propagate lies continually, false history. And then they even write laws to protect their lies. So you don't need to write laws to protect the truth. And as that one saying goes, if you want to know who's ruling, who's a true dictator and in control of everything in a society, all you need to do is to look to the people that you're not permitted to speak out against or criticize or question. And as soon as you start questioning anything about Jewish, then all of a sudden you're hit with anti this and anti that, just for questioning, or just for asking them to produce proof, because they make all these bold statements and claims, but then they never have proof. And then when they show you proof and then the proof get debunked, then all of a sudden you just anti this and anti that. All right. And it says, this book traces the life and destiny of Esau and his descendants, the Edomites, and their relationship to Jacob, Israel, to God, to historical current events, and other races, plus their place in prophecy and judgment. And this is why they never make movies about Esau, Edom. And then when you ask anyone that's involved in any sort of religious clergy within the churches, they always give you the same story, that Esau, Edom was done away with. Well, in the Bible it says that that's a future prophecy when they're done away with. That's the end. It tells you in 2nd Ezra that Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. This is 2nd Ezra 6 and 7, and it reads, Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born, of him Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. All right? Hence the reason why they also removed the Apocrypha. So you just see conveniently all the things that proved who they were, they just conveniently moved from the educational systems, from the schools to the churches, to their theology schools. All the things that reveal who Esau Edom was, they removed, and then they fabricated a story that Esau Edom was done away with, but yet never produced the evidence. All right, because here you are with all these relics and all this history, and you mean to tell me that you're going to have millions of people from a race done away with, and there's no relic, no history, no writing, no parcel, nothing, no proof that it happened, no evidence, no mass graves, bones, scenes of a battle, nothing. You have a whole race that just disappeared off the face of the earth, and we don't know by whom. It's all a lie, man. Just like this news story that fell apart, and they kept changing the story almost every 10 minutes. That story changed about the New Jersey shooting thing. Why? Because they're trying to assassinate the character of the Hebrew Israelites, and they admitted in the report that these people had no connection to the Hebrew Israelites, but yet they kept mentioning the black Hebrew Israelites. What they had nothing to do with these people. But they succeeded in planting a seed, a negative seed. Because the next story would probably be even worse, but it doesn't matter, because he is just going to use his blessing, his might. Just like he did in the past, his might will become right. His right is his might. All right? Let's go to page 7. All right? We're going to talk about the forced conversion of the Edomites to what they refer to as Judaism together by John Hyrcanus. Because see, they like to leave this out. All right? And then those same Edomites were set up over Israel through Herod. Like I said, up there in the top left corner. That being the forefather of the Herodians, Antipater. And then the Herodians on down the line there. All right? But on page 7, it said the Nabateans now occupied Mount Seir, and the Edomites were driven into the old territory of Judah. The Maccabean family, a remnant of the true Judites, had ruled Judea from 166 to 37 BC, and under Judas Maccabee, and they give you, and that's in 1 Maccabees 5 and 3, proving that it was a part of the Bible this man knew. All right. And the author of this book was also a Jewish. Remember that. This is by Charles Weissman. All right. The book that I have in the room is by Henrik Gratz from 1893, The History of the Jews, who also talks about the forced conversion of John Hyrcanus in Volume 4. That's the one I have in the next room. All right. So it says, during the time of John Hyrcanus, 135 to 105 BC, the nephew of Judas, the Judites were again faced with the hostility of the Idumeans. Hyrcanus confronted the Edomites, causing a decisive change in the relations between the two factions. John Hyrcanus conquered the whole of Edom and undertook the forced conversion of his inhabitants to Judaism, and that's in the Josephus, in the Antiquity of Josephus, chapter 13, 9 and 1. There it is, right there in the Josephus. We also have that book. Thenceforth, the Edomites became a section of the Jewish people, and that's what you have today. You have these people that do everything opposite. You know, the custom of wearing a hat. That was a Greekish custom because Israelite men wore their crown open, not covered. All right. And then, as you see on the image right here, he has those locks on the side of his head. All right. Let's see if we can enlarge that. All right. I'm not sure. I'm going to look more into it, but I heard a woman say that those locks represent the serpents because these people were once called the serpent people. They were. That part being true. Like it says, Jewish, Revelation 2 and 9. Converted. We just read about the conversion. So it's not hate. It's not hate. It's fact. It's history. Right? And then the true Jew by blood. All right? Or Judeans, might we say. All right? But make sure Antipater and Herod stay in the frame there. And I do believe number 3 might be Alexander himself. I think that's an image of Alexander. All right. But this juncture of the time of the Edomites were then incorporated with Jewish nation, and their country was called by the Greeks and the Romans Idumea. So the Idumeans, when it talks about Idumea, it's specifically talking about the Jewish converts. They were called Idumeans, all right? Mark 3 and 8, Ptolemy is, hold on, it gives you some books down at the bottom. Let me just read those. It says, and so this information, not only in the books that I've shown you, but it's showing you this. This is John D. Davis, Dictionary Bible, 1934, page 32. Man, I would love to get my hands on that book. The Encyclopedia Judaica, volume 6, 1971, page 378. The New Standard Jewish Encyclopedia, 1977, page 58, reiterates the same account. Also, the 1941 Jewish Encyclopedia, 1925 Jewish Encyclopedia, page 41, volume 5, also reiterates the same account. It talks about, it's telling you that that modern day Jewry is Edom. So when you get to that scripture when it talks about that he's going to come down upon all Idumea, you know, I believe that's Ezekiel 34 or 35. You know, it's talking about what? It's talking about the Jewish people today. All right. The Jewish Encyclopedia, volume 4, 1904, page 41, also says it. All right. So I just gave you. So basically right now, this book and 3 other sources all reiterating the same thing that the Bible says, that the encyclopedia says. All right. All reiterating the fact that there was a faction of the Edomites that were referred to as Idumeans that were in Rome. All right. And that was the faction that was forced to follow the ways of the Bible. And then they clung on to those things and reconvert it and claim it to this day. And the truth be said, they're very well aware of this. It's just the masses of their flock may not know it, but you better believe you can't study the Bible and the Talmud, to become a rabbi and not know these things. They know this history. They're very well aware of this history. Okay? So let's grab another scripture. This is 2 Thessalonians 2:8. Then shall the wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So right now they're being destroyed with the spirit of his mouth, because we the prophets are his mouthpiece. This is why the defamation of our character, the purposeful defamation of our character and assassination of our character is being waged in the media now. Because of things that we say are true. And remember, the awaken up to the fact that you're an Israelite is a threat to their superiority, to their rulership, to their governments, everything that they set up. Because you have to understand, their education, their churches, their banking system, their financial system, their whole society has been set up based upon the fact that they were the people of the Lord. And that they had the right. All right. And the only people who are going to have the right in all the world is going to be in servitude to are the true 12 tribes of Israel. The flip side of that coin, though, is that, because it may sound bad to those who are going to be under subjection, but it's actually going to be a good thing, because the earth is going to be set back in order. And everyone will follow the law, statutes, commandments of the Bible, and there truly will be peace on earth. Another way you know that the people in the land of Israel are not the people, because the Bible clearly says that there will be peace and no more wars when Israel goes back home. Not just, the Jews and Levi. All right? All 12 tribes return, and there shall be peace on earth. And all of the nations will be under subjection, and we'll be living in peace. That's the good news. That's the doctrine. And that's what the nations of the world have to, they will come to the understanding whether they want to or not. There's never going to be peace on earth until Esau, Edom is moved out of the way. It's not going to happen. So let's grab this account right here. Let's read something from the Maccabees. All right, because in the Maccabees, in the fourth chapter, the first Maccabees, the fourth chapter, it clearly tells you right here. This is 4:59. Moreover, Judas and his brother and the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of dedication, that's what they call Hanukkah. All right, the record of Hanukkah is right here, and it was a dedication from a battle that was won against who? The Idumeans, against the Romans. All right. So how can you be the Romans and be the Jews? See, it makes no sense. All right. It says, moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month, Castor, to the mirth of gladness. And at this time they builded up the mount of Zion, the high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down. And they had, as they had done before, and they set a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. See, Esau, Edom has always been the #1 enemy of the nation of Israel. So in closing, we're just going to refer to this book, The Roman Empire of the Edomite, all right, 1853, by William Beeston, a legacy reprints. So this is a reprint from a book from 1853, and it tells you right here on page 9, it says that the answer to the question, whence came the Romans, may be returned and even registered in writing before the birth of of Hamashiach, that the response proceeded neither from the Greek nor Roman, but from the despised Jew. Because the real Greek and Roman were Japhet. You got to remember, Alexander the Great took over the land of Greece. He took over Japhet's land and started calling himself by that name. All right, by those names. And it reads that it has been preserved to us in Jewish targums that exist amidst the fables and impieties and absurdities and the blasphemy of the Jewish Talmud, and that it may be comprehended in these 20 words. The Romans came from Esau, who is Edom, and Italy is Idumea, Rome, the Basra of the Hebrew prophets. So there it is, man. That's on page 9 of matter of fact, you can freeze frame it. All right. The Romans came from Esau, who is Edom. Italy is the Idumea, Rome, the Basra of the Hebrew prophets. There it is, Isaiah 34, 5 through 6. So with that, I hope this was an edifying lesson. Call Halal Yahweh Bashim Avashai Bashim Rakak Wadash Wa Abba Babal. Shalom.